Hi, Sagittarius Sun and Rising. Welcome to your March 2025 Astro Update. It's Rena here, Sun in Sagittarius, Mercury in Sagittarius. And I think that this month, well, I know that this month is going to be very significant for everyone because there's so much happening and it is so um, significant. It's not just like the garden variety, full moons, new moon type of transits. Yeah, there's some of those, but I mean, there's a lot happening, retrogrades and eclipses, all kinds of stuff. And it's not to say that that's going to make the month easy, because obviously, when you have all these kinds of transits, it could be very hectic, to say the least. And you may find that it's hard to feel grounded. So just keep the idea in mind that this too shall pass. I did the February forecast not too long ago, and I noticed that there were some astrologers who were really emphasizing the fact that, February, because some people might experience the eclipse energy in February, that, oh wow, February is going to be this big month. And I think maybe for the collective that might be the case, but I think in general, March is really going to be on steroids, because then, I mean, you have the also the astrological new year, but it's going to be in the middle of a Mercury retrograde and a Venus retrograde. It's just like a lot extra. So anyway, let's just start from the beginning of the month, because it doesn't even let up like starting at the beginning of the month. So on the 1st of March, Venus goes retrograde at 10 degrees of Aries. Aries is a fellow fire sign to Sag. So the Aries and Sag form a trine, which is very favorable, very harmonious. And Venus is a benefic planet, which like Jupiter, even if it's going retrograde, it's not like, or even if like you have hard angles like in your natal chart between a planet in Venus or a planet in Jupiter, it's not going to be the end of the world. It's not the same thing if you have a square to Pluto or a square to Mars. It's going to be a lot. It might just be indulgent. It might be like excessive, that kind of thing. So the Venus retrograde might even bless you in some way. Aries is for Sag the 5th house, which is a really great house for a lot of fun stuff. It's the house of love. It's the house of creativity. It's the house of children. It's the house of the business that you own. So Venus retrograding through here, you never know. You may find that there are hidden opportunities to make money that you didn't really, you had blinders on, or you're so busy that you couldn't really pay attention to it. Venus can be money, and now you do. This could be, now when it's in the 5th house, I will say that you could see an old lover coming back into the picture. And when I say coming back into the picture, you would obviously have to agree to it. So this is not to suggest that it's necessarily a good thing. It could be somebody who is really somebody that you're very attracted to, or that you find very, and I'm talking about romantic individual, but it might not be somebody who you're meant to be with. When Venus is retrograding and somebody decides to get with that person, and it might be somebody that you just meet and you kind of hit it off, or whatever, but that might not be long lasting. But I'm also speaking of the person that you reunite with. Just because you reunite with someone doesn't mean it's the right thing, because you did break up with them. So there might be a very good reason for that, and nothing may have changed. Like I meant to say, like a smooth talker type of person. Maybe they're just very romantic, and that makes it easy for you to kind of swoon and feel like, oh wow, maybe I am in love with this person. So just keep that in mind because they may contact you. Maybe you'd contact them, but whatever. Um, you may re revisit an old artistic project if that's something that is something you do. Yeah, I mean the retrograde is just going over old ground and deciding, kind of like reviewing. Maybe it's even like finding a hobby, because the fifth house can be hobbies that you used to find very pleasurable and doing those again. Because the fifth house can be fun stuff. And sometimes we abandon certain things that we used to do for fun because maybe we were so busy with career matters and now we're kind of chilling. There are many reasons why people do what they do. On the 3rd, Mercury goes into Aries. This is going to be very featured for you, that fifth house. Mercury in the fifth house can be, since this is the house of pleasure, that could be doing pleasurable things that involve the written word. So going to the theater, going to a poetry reading. Maybe you're the one that is performing the poetry. Um, I'm a, I'm like somebody that was at the beginning of the poetry slam movement, way before it became. I was at in the early days of it, so I'm like a pioneer of that kind of stuff, performance poetry, before it was on HBO or wherever it was on, um, in the late '80s, early '90s. So, but yeah, anything like that. Maybe you are a writer and you're somebody who is wanting to do some kind of uh, write a novel, write a screenplay, write a stage play. There are Sagittarians that are very serious about that. You could be talking to somebody that maybe this is an old flame. You're talking to that person a lot, calling them every night, or, just more activity from a verbal standpoint. On the 14th, we have a lunar eclipse, and it's almost at 24 degrees of Virgo, 2350 something of Virgo. So for some Sages, I'm one of them, this is going to square me off. And if you are 20, 22, 23, 24-ish, around that degree, that's going to form a square from your sun or ascendant, this lunar eclipse. Now there could be tension, but there could be this kind of awareness of how you're trying to do maybe two things and there's no give. So this is for Sag, Virgo. This lunar eclipse is happening in our 10th house. This is very significant. We're also going to have a solar eclipse in Virgo in September. So I want you to kind of pay attention to these two times, because the lunar eclipse could kind of open things up. Now, for some people, and this is going to be highly dependent on your particular circumstances. Not everybody has the same circumstances. The lunar eclipse could be eclipsing out a career. Now, I often think of eclipses as a time when it's in one of these angular houses, which are considered particularly important, but maybe it doesn't even have to be that. any house, any theme that a person is resisting the change. So let's say you're in a career that you are extremely unhappy about, Sag, but you cannot, you're afraid to you're afraid, for instance, I'm talking about all this activity in your fifth house, which is about creativity, or even like including being an entrepreneur, starting your own business. Okay, let's say you're an artist. Let's say you are a painter and you really believe in yourself, but you just don't believe in necessarily that it's going to be able to pay your bills, and you have to pay bills. You're not in a situation where you're just completely able to just kind of survive without that. So you may be extremely unhappy with whatever your career is, and that's draining you. But you feel like, I have to do this. This is what I majored in college, and I spent all this money, and how can I just leave this thing? And then something happens that totally, maybe it's even beyond your control, and you're released from that. And it's so much easier sometimes because you don't have to feel like you risked it, that you like put yourself in jeopardy. You can say it was done to me, even though at a higher level you may have chosen this, and you're not aware of that, but that's part of the eclipse action, that this is the go time. This is the time when things are meant to happen for you. It could be a breakthrough, could be a breakdown, it could be a breakthrough. And by the way, I just want to say too, if you're retirement age, and maybe for some people, maybe you've been in a union, you've been a teacher since you were 22 and you're only in your early 50s, but you have the ability to retire, and you decide, you know what, I can't take this anymore, I'm going to retire. And this allows you to kind of, it's kind of like it goes to that fever pitch, and then everything is dissolved. But for some people, this could be major recognition and a breakthrough, where people suddenly pay attention to you. Whatever you're doing is because the 10th house is at the top of the chart. So this could be very, very good for Sages and their careers. The very next day, Mercury goes retrograde at 9 degrees of Aries. So yet again, more triggers to that house of pleasure, pastimes, love, creativity. Maybe rethinking an artistic project that you already have kind of fleshed out in your mind. Maybe some sort of communication breakdown with somebody that you have, reunited with, or that you have been talking to. On the 20th, we have our astrological new year when the sun goes into Aries. This is the vernal equinox in the northern hemisphere. The autumn equinox, southern, the spring or fall period, power period, because it is the sun going into a cardinal sign, which is all about action, change, and things like that. On the 27th, Venus retros back into Pisces. So it's been in that fifth. Now it goes back into the fourth house. So this is, fifth house can be affairs. It can be, these flings that people have. So if you are currently with someone and you're experiencing this kind of like a tug of your conscience, like, do I really want to break up my family over this affair? This could be, because Venus can be your values, and you could be like, what really do I value in life? Venus retrograding in the fourth house can bring great possibilities for some sort of, what do you call it, like real estate deals that just kind of come into your reality. Boy, that would be nice, wouldn't it? And on the 29th, we have Mercury retrograding back into Pisces. So this is just 2 days later. So now we have these two personal planets in the fourth house. And so you may be rethinking a move. If you have been like, maybe or thinking like, maybe I should move, because, and maybe it does have to do with, maybe you're not even with somebody else, but you're really like hot and heavy with this person, and you're like, this person lives at the opposite end of the country or what have you. I need to be closer to this person, and you're really thinking about that. So it could be something along those lines. On the 29th, and also, one thing that this is very important, issues about having children. Fifth house can be conceiving children, fourth house can be your household. So definitely could be something along those lines of kind of mulling that over. On the same day that Mercury goes back into the fourth house, there is a solar eclipse in the fifth house. So I'm just telling you, usually I hear about like full moons being very fertile times for conceiving children, but I wouldn't be surprised if a solar eclipse could do that as well. So be aware of that if this is something that has been on your mind and on your heart, because that could do it. But any kind of creative project can really be multiplied. The opportunities for creativity, for love, to feel that love. The sun is connected to love, and actually the sun is the ruler of the fifth house, and Leo is the ruler of the fifth house, ruled by the sun. So that Leo vibe really in this, with this, which is fired as well. This is an Aries. It's just very harmonious with Sag. And then, if that weren't enough, the very next day on the 30th, Neptune goes into this area. Now, Neptune going into the fifth house is very good for creative. Neptune is a ruler of Pisces, and it's great for spiritual pursuits, for sure. But it's so great for creativity. And sometimes these things are combined where you're making spiritual art, you know what I mean? But yeah, this is very good for that. It's good for the soulmate, finding a soulmate. It is going to go back into Pisces during 2025. So it's flirting with this fifth house. And in 2026, you will see it, establish itself a little bit more than it has this year. But boy, isn't that wonderful for Sag, because it is in a fellow fire sign, and it is in this wonderful area. So it can be very good for romantic love and anything that has to do with fantasy. So creativity is all about creating this mythical universe, if you will. Wow. Okay, Sag. I hope that you're excited for this. Maybe you're a little overwhelmed. I know it is a lot. But anyway, I'm excited with you. And if you would like a private reading, be it astrological or the tarot or both, I do have package deals with the tarot, but I have also with the double astrology called my deep dive reading, which is an hour of natal chart analysis and an hour of transits for the upcoming 12 months, and I have another one that combines that with the tarot, and all three is called the whole enchilada. And I have love readings, career readings, career life path, and that sort of thing. You can find out more information at the link below. Thank you for listening. Bye.